Hello there, this is L24 World News, streaming live from the capital Algiers. And coming up next in our news program. Queen Elizabeth II died Thursday at her Balmoral residence at the age of 96 after a rule of 70 years. Energy ministers from the European Union gathered on Friday to discuss how to protect citizens from exorbitant energy costs and stop world firms from going out of business. North Korea passed a new law to have the right to use presumptive nuclear strikes to protect itself. Good afternoon, those were today's top stories. Queen Elizabeth II died Thursday at her Balmoral residence at the age of 96 after a rule of 70 years. After coming to the throne in 1952, Queen Elizabeth led the longest rule in British history, marked by her strong sense of duty and her determination to dedicate her life to the throne and her people. The royal family issued a statement on behalf of the new king, who will be officially called King Charles III.
The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all members of my family. We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother. I know her loss will be deeply felt throughout the country, the realms and the Commonwealth, and by countless people around the world. During this period of mourning and change, my family and I will be comforted and sustained by our knowledge of the respect and deep affection in which the Queen was so widely held.
In same line of thought, Prime Minister Liz Truss on Thursday paid tribute to Queen Elizabeth II for her extraordinary achievement as Britain's longest reigning monarch.
Today the crown passes, as it has done for more than 1,000 years, to our new monarch, our new head of state, His Majesty King Charles III. With the King's family, we mourn the loss of his mother, and as we mourn, we must come together as a people to support him, to help him bear the awesome responsibility that he now carries for us all. We offer him our loyalty and devotion, just as his mother devoted so much to so many for so long. And with the passing of the second Elizabethan age, we usher in a new era in the magnificent history of our great country, exactly as Her Majesty would have wished, by saying the words, "God save the King."
The long-ruling Queen in Britain has passed away, aged 96, leaving behind her a legacy. Let's have a reminder of the most important events in her life. Nabil Khazini.
Her longevity had become legendary. Queen Elizabeth II, known to favor simplicity in life, was extremely witty and clever, and also famous for her temper, something she inherited from both her father and her mother.
So I think she's played very well exactly the role of a constitutional monarch. She's not got involved in politics. We barely know her. I mean, she's the most charismatic, sort of photographed, most famous woman in the world, but she's also very enigmatic. We hardly know her. And I think being able to stay above politics but seen as relevant and respected has been really important.
Elizabeth Alexandra Mary first saw light in 1926 as the first child of the then Duke and Duchess of York. Nicknamed Lilibet, she enjoyed the first decade of her life with all the privileges of being a royal without the pressures of being the heir apparent.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
Elizabeth wasn't born to become a queen, yet that was her destiny. She was 25 years old when Elizabeth learned she had become queen in February 1952 while she was on a trip to Kenya.
I think something that interested me when I was researching this book was the extent to which it was made clear to the Queen that there was a strong expectation that she would follow in family footsteps.
In 1947, Elizabeth married Prince Philip, a distant cousin. A few months later, the first of their 4 children, Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, was born. At the time of her wedding, Great Britain was still recovering from the ravages of World War II. While family life provided the biggest shocks, in 1992, her daughter Anne divorced her husband Mark Phillips. Charles split from Diana, and Andrew separated from Sarah Ferguson. After Diana's death in 1997, the Queen initially rejected the idea that Charles would marry his long-term mistress Camilla Parker Bowles.
A key part of the Queen's approach to sovereignty has been this determination to live up to the role, to do it as well as she can be. And therefore it seems to be inconceivable that we would ever hear the Queen saying, well, I'll do it my way. And that thought doesn't appear to have occurred to her.
During her record-breaking reign, Elizabeth kept a symbolic but no less important role. She ruled the largest kingdom on the planet and reigned over 130 million subjects. With this last historic smile for a queen who reached her 10th decade and reigned for 72 years, Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain became the longest reigning monarch in British history.
Leaders of Commonwealth countries have reacted to the news, expressing their condolences on Friday on the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
It is with the deepest of sorrow that we learn today of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She was our Queen for almost half of Canada's existence, and she had an obvious, deep, and abiding love and affection for Canadians. In a complicated world, her steady grace and resolve brought comfort and strength to us all. Canada is in mourning. She was one of my favorite people in the world, and I will miss her so.
With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, an historic reign and a long life devoted to duty, family, faith and service has come to an end. This is a morning of sadness for the world, for the Commonwealth and all Australians. It is a day of profound sadness and grief for the royal family who have lost a beloved mother, grandmother and great-grandmother, the person who for so long was their greatest inner strength. Today marks the end of an era, the close of the second Elizabethan age. This time of mourning will pass, but the deep respect and warm regard in which Australians have always held for Her Majesty will never fade. May she rest in eternal peace.
It's with great sadness that New Zealand wakes to the news of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. I know I speak for all New Zealanders in conveying our deepest sympathy to members of the royal family and condolences to King Charles III on behalf of the government and New Zealanders at this time of enormous loss. The last days of the Queen's life captures who she was in so many ways, working till the very end on behalf of the people she loved. And that is why I'm sure that we will receive the news of her passing with both emotions of deep sadness, but also gratitude for a life that was utterly and completely devoted to the service of others.
Presidents, prime ministers, monarchs, and leaders around the world have paid tribute to the life and service of Queen Elizabeth II, many of them reflecting on a 70-year ruling that encompassed some of the most turbulent and decisive moments in modern British and world history.
Here in Germany, she was admired and revered. Millions of Germans today feel a sense of grief and heartfelt sympathy for the people of the United Kingdom. Her natural authority, her immense experience, her exemplary devotion to duty will remain in our living memory. Her death is a deep cut, the end of an era.
China deeply mourns the death of Queen Elizabeth II. President Xi Jinping has sent a message of condolence to the new King Charles III. Premier Li Keqiang sent a message of condolence to British Prime Minister Liz Truss. Queen Elizabeth II was in power for 70 years and was committed to promoting national development and increasing friendly exchanges between Britain and other countries in the world. The Queen was the first British monarch to visit China. She has also received many Chinese leaders to visit Britain, making important contributions to enhancing mutual understanding between the Chinese and British people and expanding exchanges between the two countries.
It is with deep sadness that I learned of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. This is a heavy loss for Europe and the whole world. On behalf of the Ukrainian people, I express condolences to the royal family, the entire United Kingdom, and the countries of the Commonwealth. Our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Buckingham Palace announced Thursday that the Queen Elizabeth doctors were concerned for the Queen's health, and a few hours later confirmed that she had died peacefully. The events preceding her death are clarified by Mumzian.
The Queen Elizabeth II sat on the throne of the United Kingdom for just over 70 years, making her the longest-serving head of state at the time of her death and the second longest-reigning monarch in history. She lived to 96 years and remained in relatively good health throughout her long life. In late February 2022, the Queen contracted COVID-19 and continued her light duties at Windsor Castle. However, she had to cancel some virtual meetings before early March 2022. In the same month, she missed the Commonwealth Day service. Between late March and mid-May 2022, the Queen did not attend any public events. She missed Easter celebrations and did not attend the ceremonial opening of Parliament due to mobility issues. The monarch also missed some Platinum Jubilee celebrations in June 2022. However, she made a surprise appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, where other senior royals stood by her side. Last week, Elizabeth II missed her beloved event near Balmoral Castle because of mobility issues once again. And in the most recent events before her death, she broke with tradition to appoint a new Prime Minister in Scotland, the first time a Prime Minister was not appointed in London. And in photos of the event, some of the last of the Queen, she used her cane indoors, and her hand appeared quite purple. On September the 7th, the Queen cancelled a virtual meeting with her Privy Council, a formal body of advisors, including Truss, after doctors advised her to rest. All the Queen's children have rushed to be by her side at Balmoral Castle as concerns grew about her health.
We say something about the announcement which has just been made about Her Majesty. I know I speak on behalf of the entire House when I say that we send our best wishes to Her Majesty the Queen and that she and the royal family are in our thoughts and prayers at this moment. I'm going to take no more, if there is anything else, we will update the House accordingly. Thank you.
September the 8th, Birmingham Palace announced the death of UK's and Commonwealth realms Queen, saying she peacefully passed away at Balmoral.
And as we can see that King Charles III has arrived to London, Buckingham Palace, and he's expected to address the United Nations, or rather, let me say, the United Kingdom and the citizens in Britain. The first statements as the King of the Kingdom of Britain. King Charles is coming from Scotland, Balmoral, where his mother, the Queen Elizabeth, passed away, and now he is in London to be crowned as the King of England.
years they've known him as a prince. Now many of his players are his subjects.
Within our news, also Queen Elizabeth II, one of the longest ruling monarchs in the whole world, left at the age of 96, leaving behind history full of political, social and cultural change in the British monarchy that helped steer the institutions in the modern world in United Kingdom.
The crowning achievement of Britain's Queen Elizabeth was to maintain the popularity of the monarchy across decades of seismic political, social and cultural change that threatened to make it an anachronism.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
Elizabeth helped steer the institution into a modern world, stripping away court ritual and making it somewhat more open and accessible, all in the glare of an increasingly intrusive and often hostile media. While the nation she reigned over sometimes struggled to find its place in a new world order, and her own family often fell foul of public expectations, the Queen herself remained a symbol of stability. She also tried to transcend class barriers and earned the grudging respect of even hardened Republicans. To much of the world, she was the personification of Britain, yet she remained something as an enigma, as an individual, never giving an interview and rarely expressing emotion or offering a personal opinion in public. A woman recognized by millions, but known by hardly anyone. At first, Elizabeth relied heavily on her father's old circle of advisors, but gradually she brought in some more career diplomats and business executives to the royal court, as she and her husband Philip sought to modernize the monarchy. In the last 20 years, backed by a far more professional and sophisticated media operation, there was still pomp and pageantry, but less formality around the Queen and her family. Her working life included thousands of official engagements, varying from trips to schools and hospitals to the grand ceremonies of state visits and national occasions. She was famous for wearing brightly colored outfits with a matching hat on royal engagements to ensure she stood out from the crowds on her many walkabouts. She traveled further than any previous monarch, overtaking more than 250 overseas visits to well over 100 countries. She was renowned for her stamina and began cutting back on a once hectic timetable of foreign tours only as she moved into her 80s. Even in her 90s, she regularly carried out engagements. On one such event, at the age of 93, she told officials she was still capable of planting a tree before shoveling the soil into a hole, and it was another 2 years after that before she needed to use a walking stick in public.
Prince Charles accedes to the throne of the United Kingdom after 7 decades waiting his turn, as he became heir apparent at the age of 3 when his mother, Elizabeth II, assumed the crown on February 6, 1952.
The Duke of Wales, the next in line to take the place left by Queen Elizabeth II, is to be the center of British crown. During these last 71 years living under the shadows of his mother, the Queen, Charles IV, a contentious figure during his youth, accumulated controversy over his relationship with Princess Diana and Camilla Parker Bowles, the Duchess of Cornwall. On November 14, 1948, at Buckingham Palace, Charles was born, the eldest son of then Princess Elizabeth and Duke of Edinburgh. However, quickly his life was marked under the label of heir to the throne at the age of 3 as his mother was proclaimed Queen Elizabeth II. He started his educational path on English soil in institutions in London and Berkshire In 1967, he attended Cambridge University to study archaeology. Then he received training from the Royal Air Force to become a jet pilot. He embarked then on a naval career, continuing the legacy of his father, his grandfather, and his two great-grandfathers.
Man of life and limb.
His public life has been marked by the grey years that followed his separation in 1992 from Diana of Wales, who achieved popular acceptance far superior to that of the heir to the throne. Charles had married the princess in July 1981 at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, in one of the most important royal weddings of the 20th century.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
Lady Di, mother of his two children, Prince William and Harry, who had a rocky relationship with the Queen, died in 1997 in a car accident in Paris, which was a blow to both her children and Charles, who traveled to France with Princess's two older sisters to repatriate the body to the United Kingdom. In 2005, Charles married Mrs. Parker Bowles, his partner during his marriage to Princess Diana. While Elizabeth II has maintained extreme caution during her reign when expressing her personal opinions, Charles has been characterized in recent decades by his intensity in the defense of humanitarian and environmental causes, as well as the promotion of medical remedies. Now, under the name of King Charles III, and after a long wait, the new monarch faces several challenges at a time of crosswind and a complexity for the United Kingdom.
To a different matter now, and away from the British monarchy, energy ministers from the European Union gathered on Friday to discuss how to protect citizens from soaring energy costs and stop power firms from ongoing out of business as a result of Russia gradually cutting off gas supplies to Europe. EU diplomats report that while member states are divided on measures to regulate Russian gas prices, they generally support initiatives to assist power companies in avoiding being crushed by liquidity shortage.
I already see now points where I am pretty sure we will align. We have to ensure enough liquidity for the markets and to support the supply side. On the other side, of course, we have to take measures on the demand side. So maybe this is time to talk about electricity savings.
And as we can see now, King Charles is entering the gate of Buckingham Palace in London. And King Charles, as already mentioned, is expected to address the nation and address the people in the United Kingdom for the first time as the King of the Great Britain and the United Kingdom. King Charles was heir since the age of 3, and he was the son of the passed away Queen Elizabeth II. And as we can see, King Charles is almost entering the gates, and the roses of all citizens in Britain paying tribute to Queen Elizabeth II, ruling for the whole history of the kingdoms, with in the age of 96 passed away. Here he is entering the palace in London, expecting him to address the nation as the first-time King of England. And to this end, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Take care of yourself and have a blessed day. And let's continue waiting the King Charles to address the nation and the United Kingdom citizens.